So it's one. Let's get started.
All right.
Yeah. Hi, Viva fam. This is Richa from Coach Viva.
And this is Lucy.
Great. And today's theme is frustrated with slow weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess let's start with what is slow weight loss, what is normal weight loss, and what is fast weight loss.
Yeah.
Because I think that causes a lot of confusion for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would say that first of all, it depends on your size, to be quite honest, before I even give you numbers. You know what I mean? Like a 6 foot tall man who has a lot of fat to lose, for instance, right? Fast or slow for this person might be like 1 to 2 pounds, but 1 to 2 pounds can be really fast for like a 5'3" female.
Yes.
That is in their last 10 to 20 pound range. Like that's, that may be considered fast. So it just all depends. And if you have like a hormonal issue like PCOS or something, 1 pound is like pretty good, 1 pound a week.
Yes.
So just putting that out there first. But if you want, for the people who just like, give me numbers, I would say fast would be 2 or more pounds a week, really. And that's like really fast. 1 to 2 pounds is normal for most people, and maybe less than 1 pound a week.
And if you're comfortable with percentages, I would say 0.5 to 1% of your body weight a week on average.
I like that a lot better. Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Than giving blanket numbers.
Yeah. So like for a man who's like, I don't know, 300 pounds, 0.5 to 1% is a lot. And then for a woman who is like only 200 or maybe 180, that's like 0.5 to 1 is like, a fraction of the man. Yeah. So I think that's like the first thing, because I think a lot of people, and story time. So we got contacted by a person who was basically wondering how is she only able to lose 1 pound a week on average, while everyone else is able to lose like 14 pounds in a month. Every month is what she started with. And then I was like, I don't know anyone who loses 14 pounds every month. Who is this person? I'd like to actually dig into this. Right. And then when I called it out that, hey, who is this who's doing it every month? Then she realized she had actually extrapolated, which I think is a very common thing that everyone does, where, you're given one number and you extrapolate it into like across time, basically. And this particular person that she was talking about was from some documentary in the UK where this man who had like, I think over 70 pounds to lose. And he was eating in 1,400 calorie deficit. So he's eating 1,000 calories a day, which is already less than, how much you're supposed to contact your doctor if you're going to eat less than 1,500 and you're a man. And he's meal planning everything, right? To the nth degree.
Right. So he's accurate. He's actually hitting 1,000 calories, not thinking he's hitting it. And then actually,
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, he's actually hitting it, especially with the camera crew and everything. And they only tracked him for 1 month and he lost 14 pounds. Right. And then, so it's very easy to go and look at, like a snapshot in time, someone lost something and be like, they're doing this every month. Or every, the same thing for exercising. If you're trying to, it's like this person, they jumped from lifting 10 pounds to lifting 20 pounds. It must be 10 pound increments every week now.
Not just this guy. We see this with celebrities, like celebrities who have to get in shape for a superhero movie or something. Their trainers and nutritionists put them on an incredibly strict and intensive training and eating regimen, like the 3 months leading up or something, right? And that regimen is not meant to be done sustainably for people. That the more intense you get, sustainably for people. That the more intense you get, the shorter the time frame is. So a lot of people see celebrities training, like they want the celebrity training program because they're like, yes, I want to look like how that person looked like when they were on screen in the movies. But what you don't know is that person doesn't look like that anymore. Because shooting is done.
Yes.
And that person does not maintain their regimen.
Yeah, it's impossible to maintain it. And even while you're doing that regimen, I mean, think about it. These celebrities have chefs, you know?
Yeah.
And they have like a really urgent deadline, which is to look a certain way for a movie.
Yes.
Same thing with the documentary with the camera person following everyone around. Like, unless you have that level of like help, it's really hard to even push yourself to do that beyond, you know, a certain amount of time. So yeah, I would say like, yes, normal weight loss, I think what we have seen is 0.5 to 1% of your body weight a week on average. It's not like every week.
Oh, yes, important.
Your story.
No, well, not even my story. Okay, before my story, let's just reemphasize what Richa says, because I think this is easy for people to miss. When we say like 1 pound a week, for instance, or 0.5 to 1% of your body fat a week, we mean on average. We don't mean literally every single week you should expect to lose 1 pound or whatever is the number. We mean over the course of 3 months, if you average out how much you lost and divide it by, you know, however many weeks that is, it should come down to this number per week. Because our body does not lose fat linearly.
And like, I think you were telling me the story of how when you were trying to lose weight, you thought you were losing less than 1 pound a week.
Yes.
And then you went back and did the average and you were like, oh, I was actually losing between 1 to 1.5 or something, right?
This was even after I I know how weight loss works at this point. I've been, you know, I'm pretty well versed at this point. And even I was freaking out still that these last 2 weeks, I haven't been making progress, even though I've been eating this many calories or in doing this many workout or whatever. I've been doing everything right, and I wasn't seeing any weight loss. And I was wondering what was going on. But then when I did the math for the previous weeks leading up to today, I found that on average, I was losing about 1 pound a week, which is considered a lot for me because I'm short. I'm a woman, you know, and I didn't have that much weight to lose at the time. But what happened was, like, you know, week 1, week 2, maybe I lost like 2 pounds a week. I don't know. And then week 3, week 4, nothing happened, right? If you average out those 4 weeks, though, it comes out to be about 1 pound a week. And Richard and I have talked about this in previous videos as well, that our body, the water factor really messes things up, because sometimes our body can be losing fat, but retaining water this whole time. So like your fat's going down, but your weight's like still remaining. But then like one day suddenly your water just drops.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, wow, I lost 3 pounds this week.
Yeah.
No, you probably lost like 1 pound a week the 3 weeks leading up. It's just that your scale didn't reflect it, the fat loss that you experienced. Hope that explain that.
Yeah, I think you explained it well. I actually, if YouTube lets me at some point, I want to actually throw up a chart, but I'll use my hands for now. So this was said for business, but I think it also applies for literally any long-term goal, which is your memory. Like, imagine there's a chart, right? Your memory, if I'm doing bar graphs, these are bar graphs, is the highest at the short term, right? Wherever you're at, it's the highest, right? But the results happen over here, right?
Yeah.
So this is yeah.
The camera's over here.
Okay, so there we go. So the memory is is like amazing here in the short term, but the actual very big results are happening here, and your memory has basically faded at this point, right? It's like my thumb over here. Maybe I should do it like this. There we go. So, right? But then you think like, oh, I'm suddenly getting results, so I must be doing whatever is happening over here, when actually the results you're getting is the result of all of the stuff you did back here.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like this graph really messes people up, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a name for this graph. It would be nice if there is a name to call it.
We should make one, and then like and we can maybe make a downloadable, maybe we can make a PDF for you guys at some point to really illustrate what's happening here.
Yeah.
But I guess at the meta level, it's just what you did. The cause and effect relationship is not as apparent as we think, because we only remember what happened.
Yes.
The in the most recency. It's recency bias.
It is recency bias.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, it's recency bias. Yeah, yeah. And the same thing happens with like any long-term goal, right? The same thing with maybe for those of you who are doing business or any kind of career thing, right? You're like, I'm suddenly such a good whatever your job is. It's not because of the thing you did last week, you know? It's the thing that you've been doing for 10 years.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it's a really good exercise, but I know 90% of you aren't going to do this, to track exactly what you're eating, track how much hours you're sleeping, track how many, just track a bunch of variables, all the things you can possibly think of that might go into your day, which I'm not going to expect people to do this. Okay, this is kind of crazy. I did it though.
Unless you're a quantified self person, which she wasn't.
I did this. As a matter of fact, there's a chart somewhere that has like all of the nutrition, all like sodium, potassium. I tracked everything.
Yeah.
And my sleep, my steps, I think, where and I would monitor my weight, my waist size, my measurements and everything. And what I noticed, if I actually graphed the chart, which I did, is that there's a delay between my weight reflecting what I did the previous 5 to 9 days, something like that, maybe 4 to 9 days. It was something like almost like a week, like whatever I did, like a couple of days beforehand, or even week beforehand. That's when my weight started to reflect.
That is very interesting.
So it's like I could eat a ton of food, and by the way. This is not everybody either, because some people, if they eat a ton of sodium and a ton of food, the next day they'll see their weight go up, right? Yeah. For me, what was really interesting was that sometimes I would eat like a big meal, big calories, a lot of calories for that day, and the next day my weight would be perfectly fine. But then like the following day it would start to creep up, and then the following day it would creep up even more, even though my diet went back to normal during and so I'm like, oh, there's this weird delay between my scale reflecting how much I was eating. And I never really, I don't know if, I don't think that happens to everybody, because it doesn't happen to all of our clients, for instance, but I do know that it happens to
some of our clients.
Actually it does happen to some of our clients. Yeah. So I once again, if you look at it from just like day to day or even week to week, you won't get the whole picture. I would say at least like the month should really be the smallest unit that you use to make any sort of decisions. Yeah, it's really cool that you actually did that. If you have that chart, I think we should put it up. I do have that chart. Yeah, we can put it up. I even track how many calories I ate and everything. Yeah. What's also really cool is that I track my waist and my weight, and you'll see there's a certain point that my weight starts going up, but my waist does not follow. And that's the muscle building part. Yes, so, yeah. That one we see very often. It freaks out a lot of people, because they're either not losing weight or they're gaining weight, even though their inches are going down or staying the same. And you're probably not gaining fat. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing I did want to cover, which is like why slow weight loss is not actually slow progress. Because I think everyone, and it's kind of like amazing, and we've talked about this before, which is people are so stuck on the weight, and even if they're losing inches, they're unhappy about it and losing momentum. But yes, if you are doing proper exercise, which you should be, because I'm assuming you don't want to lose all of your muscle, right? It is totally possible that your weight loss is super slow, or you're even maybe gaining weight sometimes. And your inches are still going down. We have a couple of clients like that, usually ones who are basically exercising religiously. They're usually like bicyclists, or they run marathons, or are preparing for a marathon, like those kind of people, like tend to have a body composition. Right. Like we have a client right now who I don't think she's lost a lot of weight. Actually, she's one of the clients that we were talking about earlier today. Yeah. That we disagreed on. I know who you're talking about. Okay. So if you look at her weight, there isn't much change, but if you look at her inches, she's lost like 4 inches. She has had body recomposition. Yeah. And she does do strength training occasionally. She does strength training, and she bikes a lot. Yes. And even though biking and marathon running is not a strength activity, your body does still go through some changes, because it might still retain some water. There might still be glycogen that that your body is extra sensitive to. So a lot of factors can retain weight
Yeah.
without affecting fat loss.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, without blocking fat loss. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we also, it's interesting to look at everyone's bodies. We also have another client. She also has PCOS and has some emotional eating issues. But like, she got a body scan recently, and her muscle is like off the charts. Like, you know, like she has a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
Right. But then she also has a lot of fat.
Right.
You know, like for her, clearly, like exercise is not an issue, right? As we know, for her, the issue is just getting rid of all of the fat, and then like, oh, she'll be ripped basically after she loses all the fat.
We actually, she actually sends us progress pictures occasionally, and you can see like they will be at she'll be at the same weight, but you can see that she looks a lot better in the after photo than in the before photo. Even the weight is always the same or like within 1 pound of each other.
Yes.
She just is her body is just like really good at packing on muscle.
Yeah. So
notice I said packing on muscle, but she still looks slimmer in this after picture.
Tight, because not tighter exactly, but slimmer. Yes.
Yeah, because once again, muscle, a little bit of muscle weighs the same as a lot of fat. So
exactly. Yeah. And I think everyone thinks they want to be the kind of person who basically loses a lot of fat. And it loses a lot of weight. Sorry, not fat.
Yes.
Yeah. They want to be the kind of person who's just like seeing the weight go down. And then I think people have this like waterfall model, which is like step A, lose muscle and
lose whatever I can lose. Yes, like I don't care, just lose it all.
Yeah. And then I will reach my goal weight and not be happy with what I look like, which is what happened to you.
Yes.
And then be like, oh, now what? Okay, now gain all of the muscle and weight, basically.
That's not that is not a place that you want to be. It's hard to communicate this to people who haven't really been there before, because it almost sounds like, I don't believe that. I bet I'll be happy once I lose all the weight. What happens is what happened to me was I lost all the weight in the muscle and water. I lost everything, right? I'm like, okay, I don't care. I just want to look slim. But then I look slim and I still can't wear tight fitting clothes because there would still be rollover. It's like, and then I'm like, oh, what I really wanted was to look good in tight fitting, I mean, I wanted lots of things, but let's stick to the shallow surface level thing. I'm like, oh, I still don't look good. And then I'm like, okay, I got to gain muscle. Well, actually, no, what happened was I gained everything back because I was sad.
Oh no.
But the thing is, like, when you get to that point where it's like you're out of muscle really, and you're still over, the actual term is over fat, which is you still have a lot more fat than is normal for your weight.
Right.
And then it becomes really hard. It's not impossible. It's not even hard, really. It becomes psychologically really hard to make progress at that point, because what you need to do at that point, basically you're what people call skinny fat at that point when you're over fat, is that you need to gain muscle now. But guess what? When you gain muscle, the scale will definitely go up. Yep. And you might also gain a little bit of fat on top of that muscle as well. So the sad thing really for people who are stuck in that skinny zone is that they know what to do, but they're afraid of the results. Yes. And that's a recipe for just spinning your wheels, because what happens is they gain a little bit weight, they freak out, and then they go back. Yeah. And then they try again. They gain a little weight, they freak out, and then they go back, and you're just kind of wheel spinning at that point. Yeah. And it's you psychologically burn out at some point. Yeah,
we see this a lot. Like, I don't know if you follow like the XX fitness Reddit, which is basically women fitness subreddit. A lot of the threads are basically that. Like, I'm strength training progressively, like 3 to 4 times a week, but I eat 1,200 calories.
Yes.
And they are so afraid to up their calories.
Right.
But the problem is, it's impossible to gain muscle without gaining a little bit of fat.
Right. And it's almost equally impossible to lose fat without losing a little bit of muscle.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about the rate, right? You want to track both, and you want to make sure that, like, when you're gaining muscle, you're trying to gain muscle, you're not gaining more fat than you're gaining muscle, right? I think that's the key.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but people, I think people are really, like, I understand, to be honest. Like, I have trouble. Like, I actually, when I need to gain weight, put on muscle, I actually don't track calories.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible for me to track calories and actually eat enough.
Yeah.
Because I am so afraid of eating enough. But if I'm not seeing calories, then I'm able to just eat enough.
Right.
Right. And we've had this discussion many times.
Yeah.
Where, I think Lucy's like my unofficial coach when it comes to like when I need like to debug my own body stuff. And then she's like, "Why don't you just eat more?" And I'm like, "I can't."
It's not really. I mean, basically, all I really say is eat more. That's pretty much it. Like first eat more, then check this box first before the next steps even matter.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I can't eat more, and calorie track is impossible.
Yeah, so we understand this blockage. Yeah. This mental blockage is. I have it, or I had it too.
Yeah,
it's understandable. You spend so much effort losing the fat.
Exactly. I spend so much time losing the fat. I'm so scared that I'm gonna gain it.
Yeah. Here's a tip. I guess hopefully it helps people if you haven't already been doing this, which is instead of a weight or a specific body fat percentage that you want to that you're happy with, I recommend finding a range that you are happy with, not a weight, because you're never going to be at the same.
Yes.
Like your body isn't going to do that unless you live in a lab. So find a specific weight range that you feel comfortable at.
Yes.
Or waist size or body fat percentage or whatever is your thing. That way you give yourself some wiggle room to go between.
And what do you think is a good range?
God, I think that once again depends on your size.
Yeah.
For me personally, so I'm 5'4", and so for me a good range would be a plus or minus 2 pounds.
Yeah, that's what I follow as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plus or minus 2 pounds. If so I'm 118, or that's my 118 is my anchor, which means I will be happy if I'm 116 to 120.
Yeah.
So there's an actual I hesitate to give out numbers because I guess I don't want people to be like, that's me, I need to hit that too. And I'm just like, you pick what works for you. But it's good to have an example.
Yeah. I think you can use the 0.5 to 1% again. I think in this case too.
Yes, actually, yes.
Yeah.
That probably.
It turns out to be about 2 pounds for both of us.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's why it works.
Yeah.
I think that sounds good. And then I think the other piece about the slow weight loss that I want to talk about is if you're an emotional eater. And I think if you're an emotional eater, it is going to take time to figure out habits or strategies that actually get you to meet your goals on a daily basis, longer than a person who does not have as much of an emotional eating issue.
Yes.
And that means you do need more stamina, because you need to be, what ends up happening for people who don't have emotional eating is it takes fewer tries to land on a strategy that gets them going for a while, right? And that could be, usually from what we have seen, is it's about maybe 1 to 3 weeks, basically.
And it usually involves just being aware of what foods are the most high calorie, low nutrient for you, and then cutting back on those. The people who aren't emotional eaters, it's easy for them to do it. It's not pleasant, right? Everybody likes cookies. It's not pleasant to do it, but it's easy to do it.
Yeah.
The emotional eaters, it's neither pleasant nor easy to do.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And that's why it takes more tries.
Exactly, it makes more tries. And for emotional eaters, it could take up to 3 months or more, depending on just how much of an emotional eater you are and how much of events you have going on in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rich just said 2 to 3 months. Some people might that's maybe a median.
Yeah.
But then some people, it depends.
Longer.
It depends on you. If you have a really busy social life and you're surrounded by food a lot, they just show up at your workplace, and you have a lot of stuff going on, it could take longer.
Yes.
I guess way longer than that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think there are 2 factors that would cause it to take longer. I think one is external, the other one is internal. Let's talk about the external one first. I think we touched upon the social stuff.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I think certainly some people's your workplace apparently is very generous and gives you a lot of free stuff.
Yeah.
All the time, or you travel a lot, right? I think for your work, like those are things you just can't get around, right?
Right.
And that would certainly cause problems, right?
Yes.
But then the other piece of it, and this is the piece that fortunately is in your control, and it depends on what your reaction to this is. Do you see it as fortunate, or do you see it as unfortunate that it is finally up to you to actually make the decision of, yes, I am going to all these social events, but I'm going to I'm not going to just eat all the fried foods there, you know? I think there is a line at which basically you're basically surrendering and saying, I don't have control, when really someone else in the same situation would figure out a way to have control. And I think this is a fine line where like you definitely like it's hard. It's only you can judge on how much you are giving up control when you could have control in that situation, right? So for example, you could be having a lot of social events. I think, I think you had a lot of social events, right? And then you decided that actually you don't need to go to all of those social events, right?
Which was actually one of the best decisions I ever made, because that freed up a lot of time to do unrelated to health and fitness.
Yeah.
It freed up a lot of my time to focus on things that really matter to me and focus on the social relationships that actually really matter to me, and just came with a host of other benefits. Sorry, tangent, but yes.
Yeah. So like that's one way to deal with it, which is just like, I don't have to go to all of these social events, right? And then the other piece is like, okay, if I have to go to all of these social events, can I just eat something properly beforehand? Like that's something when I'm really tracking and trying to meet a goal, what I will do is, number one, try to arrange it in a place, if I have control over that, in a place where I don't actually like the food that much, or I don't even like I'll usually do it at a bar.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who drinks a lot of alcohol. So it's very easy for me to sit with something very tiny the entire night, right? And I don't really need to eat anything more, right? And I'll like eat something very substantial beforehand, so that when I get there, I'm not tempted to actually have a lot of the foods. Or I'll sit away from the foods and like keep pushing the food away to the other side of the table, basically, right? There are things that, there are things that you can control. Like I don't think anyone is force feeding anyone.
Nobody is ever force feeding you unless they are.
Yeah.
In which case, I don't think they're your friends.
Yes.
I will. This applies to social situations, I think, very specifically. But I think that if you feel like, it's hard to say this because I know there's cultural nuances, but I think that if I feel like I have to argue for my right to decline food, then I have to really question whether or not you are a friend.
Yeah.
Because real friends don't need food to have a good time with you, or alcohol to have a good time with you. I understand there's cultural nuances to this, and family might be a little bit different.
Right.
The thing actually, for a while, I used that as a marker for whether or not somebody is my real friend. If I say, no, thank you, I don't want this, and they keep pushing it on me, I kind of check I question how much you really care about me.
Yeah.
Bucket. There was something else that you said about, knowing what you're in control of and not in control of. It doesn't mean you have to be 100% in control of everything.
Yes.
Either. You can just be in control of one thing. So if you usually go to a party, and I only say this because this is what I did. So, disclaimer, it's Lucy's personal anecdote, which is that when I went to usually I would go and eat everything. And I asked myself, when do I usually just eat eat a bunch of things at a party? And for me, it was usually when I was feeling awkward, because I didn't know how to make social small chat with people. And so therefore I would eat food to kind of make the awkwardness go away. And so, one thing that I had to work on was either just stop saying yes to social events where I feel awkward in, which has solved most of my problems. But the second one is like, why don't you learn how to be socially engaged? And that solved another set of my problems. And then the third one was just, sometimes if I go to the party and I just really like the food there and eat it, I will be okay with that as long as I did better than the time before, if that makes sense. So like if I ate 5 cookies, I don't, I'm going to use cookies. Maybe alcohol can be your thing, right? If I ate 5 cookies at the last week, I had 2 parties and I ate 5 cookies at each of those parties. This week, I had 2 parties and I ate 4 cookies at each of those parties. Guess what? I did better than I did the week before. I'm going to be happy with that.
Right.
And as long as you keep going up and not, it's not black and white. It's not pass or fail.
Yeah. Totally. It's not pass or fail. Yeah, and I think recognizing. Sorry, were you about to say?
No. Go ahead.
I think this is one of the things that recognizing what you're in control of and what you're not in control of, and then sometimes I think, and we're all guilty of this. We feel we're not in control, and then when the right questions are asked, like acknowledging that you're just. It's easier to believe that you're not in control.
Are you talking about now the internal part?
Yes.
Okay. So internal piece of emotional eating, right?
Yeah.
And recognizing that it's not like, it's hard because I kind of understand, because I was also in that mind space for a very long time where I say I have no choice but to eat what my mom puts on my plate. Yeah, I have no choice but to, and it takes a lot of self-responsibility, I guess, and awareness to realize that nobody is for putting food down your throat, actually.
Yes.
So you do have choice. Now, having choice is different than feeling pleasant about doing it. That's not the same thing. But if you even just acknowledge that you have choice, like that's like step 1, which you won't believe how many people can't get past that.
Yeah.
And it took me years to get past that. I'm not saying like I know this.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
because it's I totally understand, right? Like I think it's when you say you have no choice, then if you say you have a choice, you have to do something about it. Yes. And you may not be ready to do something about it.
And you have to pay you probably have to pay a price, right?
Yeah.
If you say I do have the choice to reject alcohol, maybe the price is that person doesn't want to be your friend anymore.
Right.
And then, I mean, that is reality, right?
Yeah.
But you still have a choice.
Yes.
You're choosing between alcohol or not having this person as your friend. Which may or may not happen either. Because sometimes people think that, oh, this person won't like me, but will they really not like you? I would say 80% of the times when I reject food, nobody says, get out. Yeah.
I'm like, more for me.
Yeah, exactly. Most people are like, okay, great, more for me. Anyway. So I agree with the acknowledging you have choice thing. But and acknowledging that it comes with a price. It's not easy, but you do have a choice.
Yeah, and I think the ways that I found out, and I don't have like a bulletproof list of how to get yourself out of them, because I think when you're in the mindset of like, no, I have no choice, and then this right now happens more for me when around time. Where I will say, I don't have time to do X, Y, Z. We just had this conversation last weekend. So there was something going on where I was like, I don't have time to do this family thing, right? Is what I was saying. And then Lucy was like, okay, so if you had more time, let's say you had 1 more hour, right? And, I, Lucy, will take on the work you would have done in that hour. Would you go do this thing?
No, I said if you only worked for 4 hours a day.
Yeah, or something like that.
It was extreme. I was like, what? Would you do this?
Yeah, and I was like, no, I still wouldn't do the family thing. So I was like, okay, I'm making excuses at this point. I just realized I'm choosing. I'm making excuses. Yeah, I'm saying I have no choice, therefore I'm not doing this family thing. But the truth is,
you're choosing not to do the family.
Yeah, I don't want to do the family thing, and now I have to actually acknowledge: am I a person who does not care about my family? Or that's a big price, as you said.
It is a big price, but I think that's actually maybe not a fair price, because choosing to do a family thing, does that mean you don't care about your family, or are you just you're thinking that like is that a belief, like a real belief, or just a subjective belief kind of thing?
Right.
Like, is rejecting alcohol from my friend meaning I choose to not care about my friendship? okay, it gets more nuanced than that. At that point, it takes some back, like journal it. It takes some back and forth to kind of dig deeper.
Yeah.
But you see where we're kind of getting at.
Yeah. So like, I think, I don't know. It's hard to get to the point where you can ask yourself these questions. Like I think I have come a long way, and I know, Lucy, you have said you have come a long way, where like we're able to realize while we're making these no choice reasons that we are actually just making up stuff. But also still there are going to be portions, but it takes a while to build that self-awareness. And until then, like, I think if you can find a good friend, or someone who can just like, and not be defensive when they ask you these questions, I guess. I think that is the other part, where they can ask you, like, do you really not have a choice? Like, what if this happened then?
Right.
And then instead of being like being honest, and because I could have been like, no, I would do it at that point and like continue to fool myself. And actually the truth is I wouldn't.
Yes. And know that you're just gonna, take my word for it, I guess, but know that it feels so much better when you acknowledge that you have a choice, regardless of whether or not that choice changes for you, right?
Yeah.
Acknowledging that, yes, I have a choice to reject alcohol or not do this family thing. Even if after that you say, but I still will, not do this family thing, or I still will take alcohol from my friend, acknowledging that you have a choice and you're making a choice to do the thing that might take you away from your goals.
Yes.
That feels freeing. If I don't know the best way to describe it. It's like, it feels freeing that I am making a choice to do an action that may hurt my own goals. I've done that before, by the way. It's not like I've made choices consciously where I'm like, this sabotages my goals, but I'm responsible for this. Like, that makes so much of a difference, because even if you're still making those same choices, the fact that you are aware that it's a choice makes it easier for you to eventually decrease those choices in the future. Yeah. If you don't even acknowledge that it's a choice, you're never going to change. Yeah. Even if you want to, regardless of,
I wonder if that's true for everyone. I think for some people, I think for some people it is more painful to acknowledge that they do have a choice, because I think because that it says something about themselves. Like if I'm, for example, if I said, I don't have time to do this family thing, that sounds like nice enough. It's polite enough. But now if I say, I don't prioritize my family, that's basically what I'm saying. Now it sounds like I'm a bad person, And if I have that mindset of, I'm a bad person if I don't prioritize this, right? Then it's really hard for me to acknowledge that, because I don't want to be that person. But then if I'm like, no, it does not make me a bad person. I just don't prioritize it right now. So I think there's something more fundamental that needs to change before that becomes comfortable.
Got it. I think I agree with you. I think in this exact example, I guess I question if you not doing this family thing means that you don't care about your family. But maybe this is like not related to this conversation. You know what I mean?
In the culture I grew up in, it means you're a bad person.
Okay, got it.
It basically means you're like a bad daughter.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The same thing as like committing a crime, basically.
Oh, okay. So cultural nuances aside.
So that's what I mean. Like, and someone could have the same kind of thing for their body goals, right? They could be like, no, I don't want to be overweight. I want, I really believe that I want to have a healthy body, right? But then when they say that I have a choice to actually not accept that alcohol, then that means acknowledging that right now, since I keep taking that alcohol, it's not, I am actually okay with not having a healthy body. And that might feel awful.
Okay. I acknowledge that will feel awful. I stay in the position that that's better for the person.
Oh, I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
It's better to feel awful and be realistic, or see the truth, than to feel awful and feel you have no choice.
Yes. I agree. Like, I think productively,
it's better to feel awful and know that you have a choice to change it, or at least make strides, than to feel I wouldn't say feel good because you're not feeling good. You're still feeling awful because you're not making progress. Feel awful and helpless at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so we agree on that.
I totally agree on that, but I think it's a journey to get to that point.
Yes.
Is what I just wanted to acknowledge that not everyone is at the point where they're comfortable with that.
Okay.
It might be more painful for them, even though if it's better for them.
Well, I think that things are always worse before they're better.
Yes.
I don't know if somebody actually wrote down like a principle, like the principle of dips or something like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a chips and dips kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel I have never gotten good at anything. Nothing has ever, in my recollection, I cannot remember anything like succeeding in anything that didn't get worse first.
Yes. Yes.
In
yes.
business and health and social skills and
And
relationships,
yes.
everything got worse before it got better.
Yeah.
And I just like take it as I don't know. I just take it as a law now, I guess. I'm just like, I don't know if it's written down somewhere, but it seems to be recurring. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a book that I think you read, and I want to read again. I think you read it a long time ago. Also, it's by the Mind Valley founder, Code of Extraordinary Mind.
Yeah.
He totally has a graph, which basically shows the same thing. He's like, what everyone wants is a life that goes like this.
Yeah.
But really, when you're expecting this, your life goes like this. And then you're just like kind of unhappy because the human condition is to not plateau.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of meaning people get out of life is by growing.
Yeah.
Growth provides a lot of meaning to human beings. But when you're expecting this and refusing to go down at any point, you go do this basically.
I should actually read that again because I forgot about that, but it does sound like something he would say. There is this guy called, it reminded me of this guy called Stephenson. Stephenson, I don't know how many, he's like a really good speaker. He has this brittle bone disease. So he's like 4 feet tall. He's broken like 300 bones in his body already. He breaks bones like all the time, right? He has to go through really painful procedures to get that fixed and stuff. Anyway, so he has like huge high pain tolerance. He's like basically in a wheelchair because if he even sneezes, he breaks his bones, right? So he can't do anything. Yeah. He has amazingly high pain tolerance. And when he was telling a story about how one of his friends said, man, I'm so jealous of your pain tolerance because you have such high pain tolerance. And he goes, oh man, I don't know if you want my pain tolerance because in order to get my pain tolerance, you have to go through all of the pain that I went through. And I don't know if that's worth it to most people, right?
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, that's true. And then he says, but don't worry about it, man. I don't want your patience because I know in order to have the patience that you have, I forget, I think it's patience. In order to have the patience that you have, I would have to go through all of these situations where I have to rein myself in instead of just saying what I feel. Like I have to rein myself in, and I don't want to go through all of that. Right. And that it's like, that reminds me that everything is a muscle. Muscles don't just grow. You stress it out, so you break muscle down. You break the muscle down, they go down, and then they grow a little bit more. And then you break it down a little bit more, and then it grows. So you keep challenging your muscles and challenging your muscle, and you're just breaking it down so it comes back better. And everything in health and fitness and in weight loss is the same thing. There is nothing in life comes easy and for free. That is worth that is worth getting. Yeah. I guess. And I think a lot of people have this expectation that weight loss, for instance, should be easy.
Yeah.
Because advertisements say so. But it's not. In order to get that, you have to be faced with challenges that aren't going to feel very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that, and I think the last piece,
by the way, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one more thing. When I say this, some people get defensive and say, but I try really hard. This has nothing to do with, it's not the same thing as saying you're trying really hard. I believe you if you say you're trying really hard and putting the effort in. But you can try really hard and put a lot of effort in and not actually be doing the things that move the needle.
That is exactly the last piece I wanted to cover.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yes, confusing effort with outcome.
Yes.
Like effort matters a lot. Like working hard matters a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but working smart also matters. Mm-hmm. And we see this often where people are like, I'm logging all of my foods, I'm doing everything, and then it's like, yeah, but you're not meeting any of your goals even
Right.
after all that tracking, right?
Right.
So it makes sense that you did not make progress.
And a lot of times people get stuck because they're like, but I can't track any harder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, you cannot track any. Like, so stop focusing on tracking. Let's focus on how to make that calorie number go down a little bit, because
Right.
it's not just about tracking your food. That's like getting the awareness. Now, like, let's do something with all the awareness that you've built up.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the other piece to be aware of. You know, is are you working smart and hard?
Yes.
Yes. And I have a problem generally of I lose faith in the system a lot quicker, which is ironic because I tell our clients to trust the system so much. But I totally understand why people would, like, I think you trust the system a lot longer than I do.
I only trusted the system after, that was my last resort, was to be patient. Yeah. Patience became my last resort after I tried a bunch of things that didn't work.
Yeah.
By didn't work, I mean it didn't work long enough, right?
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to actually try to trust the system now and do this gradual decrease of things instead of like crash diet.
Yeah.
Didn't come naturally to me either. I understand why people don't trust the system.
Yeah. And I totally understand too. I also have a tendency to react very quickly. And so yeah, it's a fine balance between working hard and working smart. And I think like you can be working smart and then start questioning, am I working smart? You know, because you're like, maybe this is not the smartest thing that I'm doing. Maybe there could be something smarter.
Right.
And I'm not entirely sure what to say in that case, to be honest. Like, I think there is, I think having, like, if you're doing it on your own, for weight loss specifically, I think we have good resources on how long to test things, right? If you, I can put it in the description after this. We have like a whole troubleshooting guide, and it's a guide that is based on how we actually troubleshoot our clients, and you can use that to figure out what you need to do on a weekly basis, or if you need to do anything at all, right? But you need to, as you said, your unit needs to be month. Yes. I think a lot of trusting the system, now that I'm saying through this, I think is having your unit right. I think that's what it comes down to. Because the times when I've reacted too quickly tend to be when my unit is wrong. Right.
By unit, I mean a unit to decide whether or not you should change things.
Yeah, a unit of time.
So in this case, you can track progress markers. Like you can mark where you're at every week, every day if you want to, but don't make the decision until like a month. Yeah, into it. Yeah, and look back the entire month. Don't just look back 1 week. Yes. Yeah. And like, you know, like Lucy's case earlier, you know, she's losing, you were losing between like 1 to something pound per week, right? Yeah. But then the last 2 weeks you had hardly lost anything. But then if you looked over a month, you had actually lost a pretty good amount. I can guarantee you, if I don't sleep or it's my period, I will not lose any weight. Yeah. Or if I'm trying. If I'm not trying, I will gain weight. So there's that. And I know this. So yeah. I mean, this is for some of our clients with hormonal issues like PCOS, especially, like this is a really like just mind breaking, right? Because it's like the scale does not do what I want it to do, but then every once in a blue moon, like whoosh, suddenly everything, like my body just releases all of the water. And it's like, most people don't wait that 1 more week to see that happen. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So are we saying like, probably for weight loss specifically, I think the unit should be like on a month's basis. I would say, on a month's basis. Yeah, not a week basis, and definitely not a day basis, which is what some people look at. Yeah. I think that sounds more reasonable. And then on a month basis, if you see that things are not changing, then maybe you need to tweak things, right? And we have a whole troubleshooting guide, which I'll link here. And if we're talking about muscle gain, I actually think it should be longer. It's a quarter at that point. Yeah, you gain muscle really slow. Yeah, for all my women out there who are afraid of getting bulky, I've been trying to get bulky for 3 years. Yeah. It's hard. I want to
She's
get
not bulky.
I want to get bulky. I don't. Okay, I'm not gonna strip for you, but like this is not bulky.
Yeah,
And I've been trying to get bulky.
Yes.
And yeah, it's hard. I don't know what to say.
And I've been training similarly, and I've not been trying to get bulky, so I can't say I've not even been trying. But yes, I'm also not bulky.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the rate is like, someone told us like, oh, it would be so cool if I could just get skinny fat and then gain muscle because gaining muscle is easier.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you can lose like 0.5 to 1% a week of fat. You gain 0.5 to 1 pound max of muscle, right? A month.
A month, yes.
A month.
For women.
A month.
Sorry.
Yeah.
During the first 6 weeks, maybe.
Yes.
And then it slows down even more.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so it's like super slow, and to be honest, like I was looking at charts again recently, and for the first like almost 6 to 8 weeks, you're not even like really gaining much muscle. Like the graph is actually like this. What you're getting stronger for sure. That's linear. But really what's increasing at that point is your mechanics. Your mechanics are just like, you're nailing it down in that 6 to 8 weeks. And then around the 8-week mark is when your muscle really gets above this threshold.
Yeah.
And then you start really putting on some muscle.
It's because at the very beginning, you're not even using all the muscles that your body needs to do like a squat. Like you're doing a squat. At the beginning, your body doesn't know how to recruit even all of those muscles. So it needs to learn, how do I recruit all of the muscles first?
Yeah.
And then you start damaging those muscles enough that they have to start growing. Getting bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So like the first 6 to 8 weeks, the people who are like, oh, I strength train 3 weeks and suddenly I'm like bulky or whatever, you probably have water retention.
It's probably water or glycogen.
Yeah. Or you've changed your nutrition.
Yeah. And if you strength train, so, I mean, exercise does. Some people do see like a lot of water retention after exercise. And
Yeah.
By the way, it doesn't mean they look bigger.
Yes.
The water.
The weight just went.
Yeah.
The weight just went up. Yeah. So it's not easier to gain muscle. It's actually much harder to gain muscle than it is to lose fat. Yeah. I think I think that
covers most of what
we want to
being
frustrated with being.
Yeah, we even talked about way more than what we had originally planned. So you guys got some bonus goodies.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions that you want us to cover. I think like most of the questions we get is something along the lines of, is this normal? So like we would love to demystify what is normal, what's not normal out there. I think like if you have the right expectations, things get easier.
Yes.
Or it's easier to stick to something if you have the right expectations.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. And if you have people that you're confused about, where you're like, how are they doing this? Send us these people. We'd love to do detective work on them and tell you what may be going on.
Yeah.
Cool. Hope you enjoyed this episode and talk soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Great.
Yeah.